Hello and good afternoon. My name is Sean Cook, and this is the recording for my final project on disability and ableism in film. I chose the movie Scent of a Woman. This was one of the very first movies that I watched as a high school student when I actually got my driver's license and had to leave the movie early because I had a curfew of 10 p.m. and the movie actually ran longer than what we were allowed to be out for. So I actually had to rent this movie when it came out later in life because of the fact that I was not able to see the end. And so, as I was determining what would be best for the final project in this course, I determined that this movie would be good to revisit as it was quite an impactful movie, but at the same time had some good humor and a really great plot. And so I thought it was fitting that I review this movie as part of the final project for this course. The primary characters in the movie Scent of a Woman include Al Pacino. He plays Lieutenant Colonel Frank Slade. Chris O'Donnell, both actors being very popular in the mid 90s. Chris O'Donnell played Charles Sims, or as he likes to be called, Charlie, in the movie, or some of his friends at Baird call him Chaz, which I don't think is a name that he really appreciated. This movie was critically acclaimed, and Pacino actually received an Oscar or an Academy Award for Best Actor. And the movie was preluded with the Oscars at the Golden Globes as far as awards go, and was very successful in that award area, but received more Golden Globes than the singular Oscar by Pacino for, I believe, Best Director, Best Adaptation for Film, and so forth. So it was a really well known movie at the time that it was screened. The plot is one that is very interesting. And as I rewatch the movie, I think about how the plot really does have many ironies in the way it is laid out. But basically, it is a prep school kid who is Charlie or Charles Sims wanting to take a job and ends up finding this notice on a bulletin board, very very typical of that time frame, finding jobs posted on boards and then calling or finding out what the job is all about. But Charlie was actually looking for employment because he needed to get home. His family has sent him to Baird on the East Coast, and they're from Oregon. And so he was looking for a quick weekend to make some money and ended up with the retired colonel and helping this family out because they were going to see family. I believe it was in upstate New York or farther north in New England. They hired Charlie to watch over Colonel Slade, and he had no idea of his intentions, meaning Charlie had none of Colonel Slade's ideas related to traveling to New York City, basically fulfilling all of the dreams that he had and wanted to then eventually end his own life. And so Charlie was, or whoever this person was going to be, it ended up being Charlie, was actually the one that ended up taking him to New York. What I also appreciate about this plot is there are a great deal of unattended teaching opportunities and life lessons for both Slade and Sims as you continue through the movie. The plot related to disability, Lieutenant Colonel Slade is blind, and he was blinded by a very unfortunate accident related to juggling grenades while he was active duty and was showing off with someone and didn't realize the pin was pulled on the grenade. He can be, Colonel Slade can be perceived as suffering from depression or anxiety, a fair amount of drinking throughout the day and using that as a coping mechanism, and frankly, just wanting to be left alone. He is and could be perceived to be suffering PTSD as well, or post-traumatic stress disorder, and wants to go to end his life. He wants to go to New York to end his life after spending the weekend in New York City. But one thing that is very unique about his characteristic, that is Colonel Slade's, is that he can actually detect the scent of a woman, hence the title of the movie, through the woman's perfume. And he has done a very amazing job at understanding what types of perfumes smell like and then identifying them on the spot, which really impresses the ladies as you continue through the movie. My first observation in this movie is the privilege of which the students at the school have, in addition to the family taking care of Colonel Slade. The students at Baird School obviously have a very privileged life and probably don't understand the impact um, that the family is going through related to taking care of Lieutenant Colonel Slade and then taking on that burden. The students at Baird have it all, and Charlie appears not to be in that same scope. So it's very interesting to see how he's had to work really hard in order to make this all work. But hence the plot of the movie when he's being held accountable at the end, and the dad stepping in for the other student after some tomfoolery, which I will get to here in just a minute, but is working to get money to go home. And maybe not understanding the true commitment that Colonel Slade has made towards not only serving his country, but then the injury that he sustained. The second observation from the movie that I can see is that of tomfoolery, which has gotten both of these individuals into difficulty, Charlie and Colonel Slade, which has led to some pretty significant personal consequences. Slade through a victim of losing his own eyesight, and Charlie a victim by association because he was present when other students were actually doing a prank upon the headmaster of the school. My third observation would be that of ableism and disability, which is directly related to this course. The family of Colonel Slade may not have a true understanding of his disability and the blindness that has impacted his life. They are basically shunning him and putting him into, or took him out of the VA facility and then obviously put him into a home that they had that is auxiliary to their main living quarters, and encouraging him to stay there, which is good that they wanted to be supportive as far as a family, but really don't understand what he is facing. It is clear that Charlie has never interacted with a blind person before, and he had to learn the nuances of that in addition to Colonel Slade's mannerisms, if you will. But Slade is really bothered by his lack of vision, obviously, because he knows that he's the one that did this. But his spirit is still intact, and I think that that's what's really noticeable in this movie, especially when it comes to knowing women and understanding maybe what their needs are, and most specifically dancing, which I will go to here in just a second. My fourth observation is that Lieutenant Colonel Slade and Charlie are really getting the chance to learn from each other. Charlie adapted to better understand what Colonel Slade's daily tasks were, while Colonel Slade was given the opportunity to be a mentor, kind of to go back to his days as being an officer in the military. And that is really one of the true ironies in this plot, is that they are helping each other. What I do want to take note of is the actions that Colonel Slade took that many would think that a blind man could not do in the movie, which I found very interesting. The initial meeting of the two individuals, and Charlie and the family not thinking that he was capable of doing anything. Uh, Colonel Slade's ability to find his own way. He specifically said, "Don't touch me, I will touch you." So it really is that setting the boundary, being able to let Colonel Slade do what he needs to do. Driving a Lamborghini, he was rented a car and quickly took off in the New York City streets and took it upon himself to drive. The identification, as I mentioned before, perfume types of those that choose to wear it. In this scene in the movie, Colonel Slade takes to dancing with a woman, and he actually shows her how to tango on the dance floor after just some simple coordinates by Charlie. Assembling a handgun, his pistol in short order, which was pretty amazing to see. Understanding Colonel Slade's perspective on life and his insight to his difficulties. And then last but not least, the ability to see or read a room. And this comes through Almost in every situation, but most importantly, the disciplinary hearing when it relates to Charlie's disciplinary hearing at Baird. The lieutenant colonel knew exactly what was going on, and without even being able to see or truly understand with all of his senses what was going on in that situation. I know I'm running a little long here, but I do want to say that my attitude and insights to this create an opportunity for me to have a different perspective, even on this movie, but my interactions with those that have a disability. I need to better understand how much there is to learn about my own privilege and those that are challenged with a disability, and then realize that my own views come from my ableism. The fact that I can do almost everything, and I do need to put myself in others' shoes or others' perspectives so I can truly understand where they're coming from. I can make a difference here at Creighton University through my work because I am on the ADA committee here, and that is a unique opportunity for me to be able to make an impact university-wide. And then secondly, just to be better educated on the current trends that are facing our students. And I think this is really important so that I know the rules and the laws related to how higher education is impacted, and it directly relates to disability accommodations. We need to do a better job as administrators and frontline people to better understand what that looks like. So in conclusion, ableism and more so disability challenges ways of thinking inside and outside the classroom, whether it's instruction, construction of buildings, adaptation of spaces, or testing, just to name a few. But really, we need to look at how that impacts students today in our work. And then, secondly, the realization that ableism and disability is a real issue in higher education. And we need to take the commitment to better understand and implement ways to not only be supportive of students, but faculty and staff to better understand the needs of our students. I want to thank you for this opportunity today to explain a little bit about the impact that I had after watching this film, Scent of a Woman, and I hope that everybody has a very relaxing holiday break. Take care.